Okay, we resume the seminar on creative research and innovation. This is number 3. I'll try to focus on role of intention today. Just this is a very unique topic, especially in last 900 years. It has not been discussed in any forum, actually, let alone in research. And so it's important that we cover it. I would say that's the most important aspect of research. Of course, after making sure that we have major premise and minor premise, they are both true. Intention has to be also true, and we'll see how that unfolds. Today happens to be the death anniversary of Malcolm X. He was, of course, everybody knows, he was assassinated today in this date, 1967. And here's something that his daughter wrote out. A man of high moral character who neither smokes or drinks. He spoke truth to power, and we know that truth is timeless. So it is really well recognized that speaking truth doesn't pay. As a matter of fact, it's very dangerous. So how do you know what really motivates them? Why are they so compelled on speaking the truth? Historically, it has been well known. Plato said a long time ago, who knows who actually said that or not, but it seems to be correct from logical perspective. No one is more hated than he who speaks the truth. Isn't that ever true today? After 9/11, it has become very clear. And it has only become open now. It's very dangerous to speak the truth. Even you get blocked by these idiotic CEOs who don't even have a degree from all the forum. Look at the face of Twitter guy, what's his name? Jacques Dorsey. He looks like a killer, the Charles Manson. And he has the audacity of deplatforming the president of the United States, that themselves recognize as the most powerful man on earth. So really, speaking the truth is not popular. But still they do it. In Quran, it's repeatedly mentioned that good guys are always mocked. Here in chapter 83, verse 29, Allah is saying that invariably, He uses the term inna. Inna means nothing but. It's like that's the only thing true. And it is, I translate that as invariably. The wicked used to mock the mu'mins. Mu'mins are the good guys. Good guys are the ones motivated somehow to speak the truth. Certainly doesn't pay, but they still do it. That's how the intention comes into play. So what motivated them? We know that it can't be selfish reason. It can't be for worldly gains, because you stand to lose everything. That's where, remember, we showed these slides repeatedly. We said, first, major and minor premises come into play, and you explicitly mention what are those, but then comes the intention. See, major and minor premises are objective. It doesn't matter. They have to be true. But when it comes to intention, that's very subjective. That's very private. Nobody else knows. And that has to be true. We'll see how intention of all things can be true or false. A quick example can be, if your intention is to drink water, right? Because you're thirsty, is there any way that you can make sure that you'll be able to drink water? We absolutely do not know. After it's done, we can say, yes, it was satisfied. If you want to please somebody, can you be sure that person is pleased? Of course, maybe pleased for a moment, but can you make sure that it never changes? The definition of true is it never changes. So if you think about that, only intention that can never change and it will always come true is when you do something for sake of pleasing God, pleasing Allah. You never fail. If your intention is to please Him, it's 100% guaranteed that it will come true. And that's why I say, I logically argue that pleasing Allah ultimately, as a first premise, is the only true premise. And how do we know that? Because He Himself said that in Quran and in every divine book. So look for, people conflate Islam with religions. Here, King Henry VIII, he introduced Protestant church. What is his intention? It certainly was not to please God, just something else. He wanted to divorce his wife, and he could not get permission to do that from Roman Catholic Church because he wanted to marry his mistress. So he created a new religion to be able to do that. Was his wish fulfilled? What was the intention behind this? He wanted to be happy with that person. He ended up decapitating her. So two things. This notion of inventing a religion for sake of your own intention is a fraud. And look around all the sects, all the cultural version of true religion, including Christianity, are fake. They have somewhere false intention attached. So when they introduced original sin and Trinity, name it, could not be well intended. You do not introduce falsehood. So this is an example. So when it comes to true intention, we know it's a time-honored principle. This is from ancient China. We are connected. If you have to take a chance, if you have to risk your life, if you have to risk being killed, cause has to be overwhelming. And that historically has always been the cause of the creator. Every prophet knew that. As a matter of fact, the term prophet in Chinese is the first one to know. So first to know what? That you know your job description, you know what's the purpose of your creation. And that's what you execute. And which standard do you follow? We talked about this standard is Tao, Dharma, Sharia. It's the pathway. Whose pathway? Not your own. It's creator's pathway. That's your standard. So your intention always has to be, I intend to stay on the course. That's why I'm giving up everything else. Because I want to be close to the creator. I want to follow him. Because that's my job description. And that happens to be what we call the starting point of love. You are so in love with the creator. And in every culture, ancient culture, they have this concept of love being synonymous with the creator. So love is the starting point of the creator. And in ancient Hindu culture, they actually say that God created. Whole purpose of creation is love. He created out of love. So what is the opposite of love? Contempt. What did Satan have for Adam? Nothing but contempt. Adam did nothing to him, yet he completely hated him. That's the starting point. And we see in future, that's the point we actually, in new science, we adopted that culture. We hate everybody. Inherently, we assume that we are selfish, we're violent. By default, we're bad. That's a satanic starting point. That has been the case throughout history. So when they say, well, Adam was a caveman, it was not, it's not true. He could be living in cave, I do not know. But he is enlightened. He is not savage. So here I show how human evaluation, first one to know the prophet, they brought knowledge from what? From creator. And as they passed away, knowledge went down. Then came the next one, and next one. And it reached a pinnacle with Prophet Muhammad, the last prophet. And of course, now we see ups and downs. Because every year, every century would have a true scholar who would follow the footsteps. There's a hadith that says that the scholars are the representative of the prophet, because we don't have any prophets. So who does the job? It's the Malcolm X's. Somebody has to speak the truth. And of course, they are hated, just like Prophet Muhammad was. So that fluctuation you can see is because of that. Now, everybody knows, it's acknowledged that there will be second coming of Jesus, but he's not going to be a new prophet. He'll bring the same message. And after that, it will again start to decline. We do not know how many cycles we have, but there will be a time where the world is ended. It's not a fight between good and bad. It will end because God designed it that way. So it's a very consistent picture that we see. And all these are examples of having good intention, having true intention. They never fail. Yet, we are told in this modern society, the saying goes, The road to hell is paved with good intentions. It's exactly opposite to what Prophet Muhammad said. And you decide who to follow. It's not a rocket science. The first hadith of the book of Bukhari says, all deeds are judged by intention. It really is so logical. I wrote many pages on this particular aspect. Because if you have to be judged, you have to have authority over it. You cannot give the key to a house and judge somebody for not protecting the house because the guy could not even get in. So how would he defend? So you have to give the freedom. Then you can judge that, look, you failed. So scientifically, the only freedom we have is freedom of intention. So it really makes sense. Why do we not have any other freedom? Think about it. We, in this society, always talk about freedom of speech. What freedom? We have no freedom of speech. Even idiots like Zuckerberg bans you for speaking. So we have no freedom. We say we have freedom of thought. What freedom of thought? If a porn is playing, you have no freedom of thought. You are thinking only one thing, either you disgust it or you love it. You have no control over your thought. And actually, bad guys know that. They have many patents on how to control your thought. So it's idiotic to think that we have some kind of freedom of thought. We do not. So only freedom we have is intention. Why is that? You could be tortured. Nobody can attack. Nobody can take away your ability to intend. And think about it. You're being killed. Why are you facing this? When Malcolm X was being blown out, what control did he have other than intention? You have no control of anything else. Everything else is part of a universal order. Now, why that happens is another issue. But you have no control over it. See, it's only logical that we are judged by it. So to begin with, you are talking about intention to reach the truth. So why do you want to reach the truth? Because you want to know what course to take. Because you don't want to take a false step. So you want to be guided. And you don't get revelation now. So you have to rely on your intention to please the Creator. And he said, what am I supposed to do? Please guide me. You align that all the time. In Arabic, it's very interesting. This is my very good friend, and I call her the most conscientious lawyer that I have come across, Rule Easton. She reminded me of this proverb. It has a story behind it. The bottom line is it says Nia Matia. Literally, it means Nia, which is the original intention. I come to that. Only in Arabic, you have distinction between original intention and dynamic intention. Only language. So Nia, the original intention, said is the mount. So what does the mount do? Imagine a camel or a horse. If the mount is upside down, you go the other way. The direction of the mount says the direction of your journey. So your original intention will set the direction of what to come. And this is so profound that you cannot find this in any other contemporary literature. It's completely absent. So what you have here, see, this is the role of intention. If your intention is true, you'll travel the upper graph. Now, why do we have all these bifurcation points, all these divisions? Because every time your intention might be the same, but you have more questions as you progress. And we'll see an example of that. There is a different term for it, and that's the dynamic intention. The bottom line is your starting point is up or down depending on your intention. If your intention is true, you're traveling the upper curve. After that, you can have up and down. You are still okay. On the other hand, you have false intention. It doesn't matter if you go up or down. Overall, you're always going down. And where do you think it's ending? It ends in hell. If you're following the bottom graph, you are traveling a path that will end up with hell. Remember, the hadith that says, it's your intention that will determine you'll be judged by it. So intention will determine the outcome. So if your intention is bad, in this particular one, then it doesn't matter how you do, you're going the path of cancer. So everything good starts with good intention. And that's what I call the love as the starting point. Why do you intend to please God? Because you're so much in love with him. You're literally obsessed in a positive way. You always think about him. So that's your starting point. Of course, it makes sense that that path will take you to him at the end. And that's heaven. The other path, on the other hand, is the path of ignorance. It's the cancer. You can hate all you want. It will only intensify. It's like addiction. It becomes worse and worse and worse. And after death, you end up in hell. I have never seen any addiction being fulfilled. Talk about false intention. You want to give yourself pleasure, it never is satisfied. So to begin with, we have talked about it last time. We have to have logic, and for that we have to have a standard. But we also have to have good intention. And that intention was disconnected with Roman Catholic Church. And it was the same that was picked up by New Science. In New Science, nobody discusses the role of intention. It's completely absent. So we might have discussed it last time, but literally this is the degradation of truth criterion. It was creator is the truth and source of all knowledge, true knowledge. It was changed by Roman Catholic Church as whatever the Pope or the monarch says is the truth. New Science says whatever Newton says is the truth. Quantum cult science, which is started after Einstein, is truth is whatever you perceive. That's really the basis of relativity theory. And that ultimately became the reality God, real deity to self-deity. So everybody can say, whatever I perceive is true. So you can wake up one day and you think, I am a 6-year-old girl. You also. And it literally is the case. So we can show many examples that, and if time permits, I'll show some of them. A 56-year-old father of 7 all of a sudden decided that he is a 6-year-old girl, and it is a real case. And now he's in foster care, playing with 6-year-olds girls. So if God is not there, if pleasing God is not the intention, what is their intention? So they literally replaced the Shahada, which is there is no deity but Allah. Muhammad is the messenger, with there is no deity but money. Maximum is the prophet. Look around, everything is about money. Money for sake of money, for sake of sex, and for sake of control. Women seem to tend toward more control and men towards more sex, but that's irrelevant. At the bottom line of this is it's about money. Why do you want more money? So you can buy more sex or more control. So it's not true that only Muslims have a major premise minor. Everybody has a major premise and minor premise. They just do not know, or they don't want you to know. They are actually worshiping money. So this is the syllogism that I crafted years ago. All Americans speak French. Jacques Chirac is an American. Therefore, Jacques Chirac speaks French. They do everything with a false premise, and then they introduce a false major premise, clearly, and then they introduce a false minor premise, and their conclusion, they say Jacques Chirac speaks French. That seems to be a very reasonable conclusion. And they never want you to look at the premises. It's the same thing with vaccine. They say, well, does it work or doesn't it work? They do not want to discuss why on earth you are injecting toxin in your body. Same with chemotherapy. Why on earth you are injecting in your body something that causes cancer? They don't want to discuss that. They want to discuss how many people got their cancer subsided for 3 years. That's it. So this is the game. So first step in research is identify false premises of any research question, no matter what they ask you. You have to ask, you have to question, and find out what are the false premises behind it. Typically, I call that this aphenomenal or false questions. And people say, what kind of question is false question and real question? I give an example. Does your mother know you're gay? They say, what are you saying? I'm not gay. So no, that's not the question. You're in denial. They already assume you're gay. And if you say, I'm not gay, so what? You hate gays? So they turn around the question. Or more contemporary, how many layers of mask most effective? So no, masks are not effective. So no, that's not the question. Question is how many layers? So you have to be able to identify that. Why are you asking these false questions? What are the underlying false assumptions? some other example, you have to choose between Bush and McCain, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden, Moderna vaccine and Pfizer vaccine. I call that, this is not research. This is Googling the answer that will maximize profit of the money god. It has zero research in it. After identifying the false premises, you deconstruct the existing theory, exposing the underlying false premises. You tell them that, look, these are the premises you have assumed. Are they even logical? Quickly find out, you'll be able to deconstruct it completely. So when it comes to true research, you have to have true major premise, true minor premise, and true intention. Nobody talks about it. Actually, you can look it up. Nobody talked, at least that I know of, having these three conditions. The role of intention has been ignored. Even Muslim scholars in medieval age, they did not look at that because it was assumed that their intention was the phenomenal on the true intention. They always started with this Bismillah, because it literally means I'm doing it for sake of God. That was their starting point. But in modern era, absolutely no idea. People have no idea that no matter what you do in your research, if your intention is not good, it will implode. And as you see every day, everything that they tell you is false. And if you see my website, every day I'm kind of listing all the false stories they are planting. The interesting thing about intention is, by the way, that the word niya does not even exist in Quran. So that's how much freedom you have. It's not even mentioned in Quran. Yet that's the first one cited in Book of Hadith. So your knowledge overall is based on intention. So if you have no intention, you have no basis. Your skill, at the end, it doesn't matter. If you have good intention or bad intention, you might still be able to give a good massage. So who will get hurt by your intention? You are yourself. You will not hurt your client. You are not going to hurt your student. You will hurt yourself. As I mentioned, real intention doesn't ever change. Only in Arabic language, you have static intention and you have dynamic intention. Dynamic intention is qasd. Given example, say you are going from point A at the bottom of Clayton Park, you're going towards the airport. So that's the direction. That's your intention. Your intention is go to the airport. That says the direction. If your intention is go avoid the airport, you're running away from it, your direction will be the opposite. You see how the intention is deciding on your course of the path. However, depending on the road, you might come across, you go in that direction and there are two bridges, for instance, one of the bridges is closed. So you're going the opposite direction because you want to catch the other bridge. You're still okay. Your original direction is the same, but in between direction, which is determined by qasd, dynamic intention, that one is changing. But overall, it never changes. That's why I said niya, original intention is absolute. It doesn't change. The dynamic one changes, but as long as it's aligned with the original intention, you'll get there. If static intention is going to the airport, as I said, you will never deviate from the goal. In the meantime, the dynamic one, you might stop for a coffee. And why is it still necessary? Because you don't want to fall asleep. You want to miss out on the ultimate goal by not stopping. So you are not deviating from your original intention. Actually, you are supplementing it. So even when you stop or take a U-turn because you made a mistake, or take a different bridge, these are not in violation of your original intention. As I said, Arabic is the only language that has that concept. And literally, for any program to be optimized, you have to optimize the concept. So if you want to optimize your travel to airport, you have to optimize the concept, the dynamic directions. You have to make a balance. If I stop at the coffee shop, I might lose 5 minutes. But if I don't stop, I might crash because I'll fall asleep. That balancing, only you will know. Nobody can judge you. And guess what? That's what, in scientific sense, that's called dynamic optimization. Nothing more powerful than a scheme that is dynamically optimized. You don't need computer for that. As a matter of fact, with the computer, you do the completely opposite. So this optimization is done by aligning qasd, the dynamic intention, with the original intention. And guess what? Qasd is the root word for iqtisad, which is economics. So literally, you align your intention, strictly dynamic intention, with intention to please God. That's your ticket to a best economy. And it was actually true. Humankind did not have a better economy than the time of Rashidun Khalifa. Talk about worldly gains. I would conclude with that. I think I have just last slide to show, and this was the one I started with day one. After you know how to do research, you become a researcher, but as soon as you start to gain knowledge, you become an educator. It becomes your job to anyway, I think I lost it somewhere. It's too bad. It becomes your job to purify, share knowledge, you purify others, you discuss the cognition tool that we're discussing, and you tell people what they did not know. So try to focus on things that, rather than repeating what everybody else knows, tell them something they have never heard. And that's why I try every speech I give, I try to tell them something that is very new. And I actually warn them. It might sound to be very new, but it's logical. If it's not logical, do let me know. All right, I would like to thank you after that.